Okay, here we go. Okay, welcome Mitch Sylvestre to the Biodigital Convergence Transhumanist Report. Honored to have you here, man. Awesome things going on in Alberta right now. The energy's really shifting. And I'll tell you one thing. Right off the bat, since I applied to become a canvasser and since I've actually been out there, talking to real people, it's really changed my life. Online's one thing, right? It's like a digital war zone, if you will, and people are just completely unhinged. And it's kind of sad actually, right? Because it's like, where's the respectful engagement? There's almost none. Now, mind you, some people, I'll take the time to respond if they actually have something intelligent to say, instead of just all the ad hominem attacks, all the mockery, all this garbage, right? Because to me, it's about looking at the information that's being presented. But I'm really glad, I was out there, on a day-to-day basis when I'm on days off, and you get a lot of support, lots. There's lots of encouragement, but then you get the odd person that comes up, throws out a comment, drives away, right? But actually, I've had a few people from the Forever Canada group, like Lukasik's group, and the one lady was actually pretty reasonable, and I actually got her to consider taking a look at what Keith Wilson's doing, which I thought was great, right? Because he's a really I really respect that guy, and he's really kind of put himself out there too, right? Explaining legally as to why we can do this. So. Yeah, and I want to thank you, Ray. I know you guys have been doing this for a long time. I've kind of just jumped on the bandwagon, but with the state of affairs going on in the country, I was just checked out completely, and I didn't realize how much you guys have actually already done. I was impressed. When you look at it for what it is, and I caught the vision, if you will, the power behind it, if I can put it that way. And I'm yeah, I want to support this. So again, welcome to the show, Mitch. And I just want to formally introduce you. You are the CEO of Alberta's Prosperity Project and Stay Free Alberta. And you are the proponent for Stay Free Alberta, the Citizens Initiative petition. For the question, of course, right? Do you agree that the province of Alberta should cease to be a part of Canada and become an independent state? So welcome to the show. I just want
Oh,
to say,
thank you for having me. Yeah,
yeah,
that was a great introduction based on everything that we've been doing. We're just finishing up our signature collection this week, so Saturday will probably be the last day of a signature collection, and then our leaders are going to collect the signatures, and then we're going to pick them up Monday, and then we're going to have a final number. So we have an ample number of signatures for anything that they can throw at us. However, you know what? We're not trusting the court system to rule in our favor right now. So we're looking at contingency programs to make sure that we protect the process that we've embarked on. That was the absolute legal process when we started, and not
yeah,
understanding how they could challenge it in the first place, but they are. And you know what? Rightfully or wrongfully so, I believe that's the federal government's way of, and maybe even the provincial government's way of not having to deal with this at the referendum level. Because I'll say, like you, we're seeing a shift from the people on the street. I'm out there all the time, and I totally understand, like you do, that there's a lot of support for this.
yeah. Oh, 100%. When you actually time back into this, when you actually get out there and have I try to be as respectful as I can be. I don't ditch out even online. I'm not ditching out. I'm not trolling. I won't do it. You can take all your best shots at me, but I'm not going to return in kind. I'm not like that. I don't believe that the leadership is really like that either, right? So I feel like we've been operating at a higher level of integrity in general and respect than these I keep calling these Forever Canada people. I don't know. I find them to be, I have quite an issue with some of them, right? Because they're out full force trolling, right? And I don't know. They're not very respectful people, to be honest. So.
Well, actually, how
Yeah.
many of those people do you think are paid to do that?
You know what? I've asked myself the same question. I would love to spend the time actually researching and proving that, but I actually am in line with your thinking. I'm sure, when they send out the Antifa bots and all that kind of stuff, it's just to try and you got to be mentally tough, right? In every way too.
Well, and
So,
the whole thing is you're right. We're not like that. We never gave Forever Canada any of that. We've had over
No.
90 real complaints. Nine
Yeah.
zero real complaints. Well, the whole purpose of that is very simple. They want to intimidate us. They want to
Yeah.
stop us from doing what
100%.
we're doing. It's
Yeah.
intimidation. And,
Yeah.
I mean, we're not all about that. We're about respectful dialogue and conversation.
Yeah.
And we've always been about that. Not, I can't remember hearing about any of our people actually doing any of that nonsense. Never mind
Yeah.
driving towards people with cars, punching people, spitting on people, all of that kind of stuff. That's just not us.
No.
And that's not who we are. And in actual fact,
No.
that's what we're trying to get away from, right?
100%, right? Like, and I
Mhm.
and I feel like a lot of us are really demonstrating that in action too, especially when we do get the, I don't know, like those forms of attack, right? Like, you just respond, just in a way. Like, I just asked them, like, why don't we have a conversation about it? Why don't you take a look, right? Like, of course, I reference the Freedom Document a lot, like with the draft copy, right? That fiscal plan. Like, I think there's great information out there, right? But I mean, let's dive into the questions. So. We have 11 questions, so I just want to get there right away and steer us into what is the Alberta Prosperity Project and Stay Free Alberta, and how should we distinguish between the two organization, and just discuss briefly what your mission, vision, and goals are for both organizations. That's
Okay,
question
so
number one.
So question number one is Alberta Prosperity Project is an educational group, nonpartisan educational group that's basically been doing a lot of the work before the question on why Alberta should become independent. Okay, so it's a large group of people. It got much bigger when Mr. Carney won the election in the spring. We were onboarding like 5,000 people an hour at some point. And
Oh,
we became on our intent to sign list. We had between 200 and 250,000 people that committed to signing an Alberta independence referendum question to bring it to a vote.
yeah.
So Stay Free Alberta now is, after I asked the question, is the group of the proponent, which is me, that gets to promote the question and put it in front of the people to collect the signatures in order to get the vote. So
Okay.
we basically put Alberta Prosperity Project in dormancy for a while, so that we didn't have any collusion problems between that. And Elections
Okay.
Alberta has been trying to prove collusion between those two groups, but we've basically put them to sleep. And there's a clear line between both of them. And our CFO is taking very good care to make sure that those lines don't cross and don't
Okay.
blur, so that we don't have any problems with Elections Alberta. Because back in my former life with Take Back Alberta, we've had trouble with Elections Alberta, and my friend David Parker is still in court with them on a large fine that they've imposed on him, and I wanted to be sure that that didn't happen moving forward with us.
Okay. Well, thanks for clarifying that. Appreciate that. And okay, so I wanted to ask the question number two is, does Stay Free Alberta or APP have any ambitions to create a new political party?
Not right now.
Okay, so
Okay,
that's a
so
hard no.
as far as we're concerned, I've always, no, this is my personal view,
Yeah.
and the view of a lot of APP people as well, is that
Yeah.
our business is not to create a new party. Our business is to get our vote to referendum and win the
Okay.
referendum. That's entire focus. Now,
Yeah.
if that requires at some point having to absolutely form a party so that we can get our view out there, but I think it would be much easier to work with the government that's there, and that's my entire goal right now, is to work
Okay.
within the UCP to make sure that they deliver on the promises that they've already put in place, and the processes that they've already put in place for us. So, they said we were going to have a vote on referendum on October 19th. So our job is to be sure that we keep the pressure on the UCP to make sure that that actually happens. And if that actually happens, then it's mission accomplished for all of us.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. No, that's great. Okay. So number three, what can we anticipate from Justice Leonard's stay ruling, like the quote unquote stay ruling? I never even heard of that before, but effectively preventing Elections Alberta and the chief electoral officer from verifying the count. Like, that's how I understand it. So
So what
what
do
do
I
you?
expect from that?
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, I expect them to say that this whole process is illegal and that the signatures were collected illegally, and that they should be destroyed.
Okay, so is there anything else you can say? Like, is there anything else you know about what's going on with the actual like case as it is now, or has nothing really been said? Like, is this just
Well,
stalling?
well, first of all, let's take a look at that from our perspective. We first of all, Jeff Rath was the legal counsel. He's our legal counsel, and we
Yeah,
support on that, and did a magnificent job if you listen to it.
I
But
I
my
mean I follow him. Yeah, yeah,
but
for sure.
my perspective on this is that we were not going to win from the outset. My perspective on that, and that's how we behaved. Like I actually set the ground rules and the path so that we would have our signatures collected before this court case. And it actually, as a consequence to that, we put our people to work. We had hundreds and hundreds of pop-ups all over Alberta. We had people
Yeah,
knocking on doors. We had people talking to their relatives. We had all manner of that stuff going on, and continues to go on for a week. And I'm just going to put a plug in. Get
yeah,
all your signatures in. We got till Saturday to do it, and then after that, they're all coming in, and this part's over. And we have enough signatures, but more is better. So if you have the opportunity, you have low-hanging fruit or people that you know, just absolutely get them. A bigger number is going to be better than a smaller number. But the other point is that we totally knew that we were going to have trouble from them. I really believe this is the federal government's tactics.
sure.
Those are federally appointed judges. They don't want us
Yeah,
to split from Confederation.
yeah,
They're going to lose, arguably between 30 and 50,000, $50 billion a year of annual income. So there's a big stake in the federal government's position here. The Conservative Party of Canada is actually in the same position as the federal government. They don't want
mhm,
to lose Alberta, as
yeah,
you know, we represent 35 to 37 seats a year for them, or every federal election for them. That would put a big
yeah,
hole in their ability to govern. So that's a problem. And then you know what? Really, by extension, the provincial government, there's a lot of members there that are not in favor of this either. So we're fighting a large group of very
yeah,
powerful people here. So just understand that it's our duty not to trust what they're going to do, and we have to counterattack what they're doing. So we're looking at ways to getting our signatures to a different place, and we've actually
yeah.
reached out to the government and said, hey, maybe we would like to deliver them to the justice minister instead of
Mhm.
delivering them to Elections Alberta. Or maybe we could make a copy with permission and bring one set to the Justice Minister and the other set to Elections Alberta. Because if the judge says, and he could, that we're going to destroy these signatures because they were collected illegally, then we're in a position of losing all that.
Yeah, well, hopefully that does not happen. I mean, because yeah, like every signature to me does reflect the will of the people, and I mean, like you explained that well. Yeah, I mean, and there's good reason why we want to become independent. I mean, for me, it's a big push to drive for accountability and just create like something new. And to me, I feel like it's the last stance, the last hope, really, for what's going on. North of the border, if I can put it that way, right? So I'm all in. So let's hope Justice Leonard actually allows the count to go through. That's my hope that a few of these chiefs, because actually, even talking to some of the First Nations people, like I've talked to a handful of them, and they're in support of it. You know, some of the things they say. Well, like they mentioned too that these chiefs are that's one vote. It'd be interesting to see or actually have some of these chiefs on and discuss. Well, how many people within your band are nay or yay, for example. Like I'd like to see some of those kinds of conversations or just even like know some of the numbers.
So when Justin Trudeau took away the ability of government to audit nations, Aboriginal nations,
Oh, okay.
they created a problem, the same problem that we have. So it's just on a micro scale. So I'm not saying all bands are corrupted, but there's a
Hmm.
lot of corruption going on in bands.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of chiefs that have a lot at stake here. And a lot
Yeah.
of the money that gets sent down from the federal government doesn't get to the nation, to the people. And I know that. I mean,
Yeah.
Bonnyville's in the center of 6 or 7 nations here.
Yeah.
And I have people that I know very well. They're not happy with the level of support they get based on the money that gets sent to the reserves. And you know what? I mean, we just went through that in Frog Lake here just like months ago, where they did an audit and found a whole bunch of corruption there. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's I'm not making any of that up. So the
Yeah.
whole thing is that we have a fully corrupt federal government, and that's our problem.
Yeah.
And somebody asked me at a UCP AGM, the last one, what would it take for Alberta to stay within Canada? And I said an audit with teeth. So everybody that broke the law goes to jail. Like that
A
would
hundred
be,
percent.
and
Like,
what would be wrong
yeah,
with that? So why is
nothing.
that? Why is that even an ask? Why is that not happening already? And that's the
Yeah.
problem. Like you said, you just got involved. I've only been involved with politics for 4 years. I started on
Yeah.
this path 4 years ago, didn't know the left from the right. I didn't have any
Right.
idea who anybody was. I voted conservative because that was what my parents did. Never
Yeah.
paid
That's
attention
true.
to details. Didn't know what a deficit was. Didn't know why a deficit was a problem. Didn't know any of that stuff. Didn't know. I basically voted every 4 years,
Yeah.
and then forgot about them, and hoped that they would do the right thing. And as it turns out, that was very naive.
I think that's perfectly said, and I think for a lot of us, I think would resonate with those words. I mean, that's that we just trust the leadership, and I mean, if our leaders had integrity, and it's not, some of them still do, but it's very few of them, and then you could trust them, but this day and age, you just can't. Like, yeah, you start taking a look, and you're like, it's like a clown show, to be honest. But yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. That's very helpful. And you did mention too that the judge, yeah, is a liberal appointed judge. I just wanted to highlight that fact too. So number four, like kind of goes a little bit of a different direction, but it's like give us your take on Mark Carney and his wife's comments on bringing the New World Order to Canada. They use those words, and what are your concerns with regards to his ties to the WEF and China? What are his
Well,
economic ambitions for Alberta's oil patch and his relationship to China?
well,
So,
here's the thing.
yeah.
Like define New World Order. Like
Oh,
first of all, right?
sure.
So let's have
Yeah.
them define it. I don't need
Yeah.
you to define it because I totally understand what I think it is. But but
Yeah.
but here's the fight we're in. And this is the whole thing. This is all about money for them. It's got
Yeah.
nothing to do with the emotion. They're going to play the emotion card so that, they can absolutely say that we should be patriotic Canadians, in spite of the fact that they're doing everything to sell our resources to foreign powers. There's nothing
Yeah.
patriotic about what they're doing. They're not trying to advance Canada one bit. What's the GDP? The growth in gross domestic product here for the last 10 years is under 2%. Like, you cannot do that unless you do it on purpose. They're not trying to make Canada better. All they're
Yeah.
doing is trying to make themselves richer, control our resources,
Yeah. That's right.
absolutely keep them in the ground, make sure that our people don't prosper, tax the heck out of us, 43 to 53%, and expect that to be okay with the people. So here's the thing. Albertans have to understand something. These are people. This is not Canada doing this to us. These are the people that are actually in control right now. These are the people that Canadians have voted to put in power. We did not
Mhm.
do that here, but we constantly stuck with governments that we don't vote for. And that's one of the
Yeah.
problems, right? They don't represent our
Yeah.
views. So the other thing is that these people do not represent our views. These people are there for their own self-interest. They don't even live here. Carney and his wife, neither one of
Yeah.
them live in Canada. Carney's transferred all of his wealth outside of the country. So what's that telling you? That's telling you that he doesn't
Yeah.
expect Alberta to be very profitable or Canada to be very profitable. And it appears like it's his job to make sure that happens. We looked at the fact that, nationally, everybody got a major project except Alberta. So if you were in business with a group of people, and if you're in business with a group of people, and you had a particular part of group of these people that was very, very profitable for you, and actually giving you a large part of your income, would you not want to try to do things to make them happy so that they wouldn't leave the partnership? But yet Ottawa
Yeah.
does nothing to help Alberta. Everybody got a major project but us, basically. Look at the map. BC got four. Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick. They all got special projects. We never got one. Like, the
Mm.
whole map's got special projects on it except Alberta. So
Mm.
so here's the thing. This to me is all about emotion and money. There's two parts of it. I've always been a proud Canadian, continue to be a proud Canadian, but I just didn't understand how corrupt Canada was. And I do understand it now, and that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to make it to the benefit of every Albertan to see that the money that's here, it can go one of two places. It can go to them, or it can stay here to make Alberta a richer, better place and make your life easier and more affordable. These people here are continuing to pile on with new taxes, killing our industry, and according to Danielle Smith, sabotaging our industry. And sabotage is a war
Yeah.
word. Why would our government sabotage our industry? Because they have another plan for it. They don't want us to develop it. They don't want us to be better off. And let's just go down the new pipeline thing. What would be the point of having a new pipeline if these people are taking all the money and it's not going to help anybody in Alberta or Canada? So we have to understand that that's the social part of it. We have to have a conversation about the bigger problem. And the big problem from most people's perspective is Albertans still live fairly well, even in spite of the fact that, it costs $6,000 for a cow now, where it used to cost $1,200 for a cow. And the whole thing is that all of this is brought about by inflation. They know that. They've done that on purpose. All this high tax is designed to make you poorer, or else what's the purpose of it? And we can't put a politician in jail even if they steal everything. Like we've got multiple examples. Mr. Guilbeault took $254 million, Mr. Trudeau, $400 million. And that's two prime examples. And with ArriveCan, even when we do win in court, they sealed it for
Yeah.
75 years. So what I'm saying is there's a lot of stuff going on that we can't control. So to your point of starting all over again, I think that's what's required. I don't think there's any way out of this other than we decide that we're going to do our
Yeah.
own path. And I also understand this. We produce the wealth. They do not. We
Yeah,
produce
that's
the
right.
wealth from the ground.
Yeah.
With the conversation I had with the leaders of Parti Québécois, it came from them, and I agree that the one level of government that we can all do without is the federal level. So I think we should have the opportunity to try that because,
Yeah.
and I've said at multiple meetings before, Alberta has literally nothing to lose, and I'll tell you why. Because we're such a big producer that we could negotiate our way back into Confederation anytime we choose.
Yeah. 100%, right? Money talks, right? Yeah, like honestly, like the thing I respect the most is that I actually feel like the force power behind what you do is a genuine concern and care, like for people here. Like you're holding that on your shoulders to me. I don't see that from almost any of the other leaders in the entire country. Like you said, it's all about them enriching themselves. I
Yes.
feel like what you're doing is actually very selfless and it's right. It's true. It's what's actually better, and it's like a lightning bolt of truth, if you will, in a system just full of lies, like in corruption, right? So
Well,
it's I
thank you for
appreciate.
that, but that is absolutely what I'm doing. That's exactly what I
Yeah,
want.
a hundred percent. Yeah,
I want it for Albertans.
yeah.
And it's
I can
always
see
been
that.
clearly my message.
Yeah, I can
Well,
see that clearly. Like and okay, and again, that leads into number five, right? Which is what are the benefits of Alberta remaining in Canada as opposed to becoming an independent state? You kind of already
well, you
touched.
know what? Honestly, as sad as this is, there are none.
Yeah.
I've asked that question to a lot of people, and I have never, ever gotten a really concrete good reason why we should stay here. That would be a benefit if you were going to take the emotion and everything out of the equation, and
Yeah.
you would say, okay, these are the assets of Alberta,
Mhm.
and these are the reasons why should we stay in Canada? What kind of a relationship do we have with Canada? As far as the people of the East don't care about Albertans. They
Mhm.
keep voting these governments in. There's no mechanism there to punish anybody that steals.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no path for us to actually have a voice based on the fact that, Confederation is working exactly the way they want it. We don't have the representation. They don't
Mhm.
want to change that. So if you can figure out a reason that nobody's ever been able to explain that to me, including people in the highest levels of government here, what is the reason why we would want to stay in a place that takes everything away from us, spends most of their time trying to sabotage our industry, taxes the hell out of us, puts uh, diversity, equity, inclusion things on top of our heads, and makes the laws based around Green New Deals that basically hurt our industry. We're in a position to get, $400 billion from Alberta pension back from the federal government. They'll invest that money all over the world, but not in Alberta. And how nice would that be? to build a major project with, I mean, they owe us $400 billion there. How about they take that $400 billion that they owe Alberta and invest some of it into Alberta projects to benefit Alberta people instead of, say, for example, sending it to India like they just did and not growing our economy here? And if Canada was going to be such a good deal for Alberta, why is Quebec buying foreign oil in spite of the fact that at a million barrels a day, in spite of the fact that we're giving them $13 billion a year?
These are good questions.
Like,
Hmm.
why would that? Do people understand
No, they
how
don't.
much of a bonus that would be to our economy to be able to sell to a customer that actually consumes that much oil?
Hmm.
That's our own domestic customer that we could sell, and that could create growth right across the whole country for everybody. Like, not just here. That would create tax revenue, would create all manner of stuff, but yet they continue
Yeah.
to import oil from the east, and that's nonsensical. Why? How is it possible that we're not buying from ourselves?
And to me, to me, you're a true Canadian. I mean, like because you're the type of leader that could build and actually that would make Canada make sense. With some of the things that you're just saying right now. I mean, this it all makes sense, right? But like of course there's the globalist mindset, they think differently, right? And of course, like you touched on too, like just we have my understanding is 37 seats in Alberta federally, right? And you look at Ontario and Quebec combined, they have 200. Like I was just looking at that, right? And you start looking at the way like the system actually works, you can see how Central Canada pretty well governs, right? Like the entire nation, right? Based on who gets in there.
Well,
So
and the whole thing is that there's no consideration for the West at all.
no, there,
Like there's no consideration for the West, and that's the way it's always been. So we just have to make a decision that we're not going to
yeah,
allow that anymore, and
yeah,
that we want to be. I mean, this movement's 100 years old. I mean, I
yeah,
mean, they've asked for a fair deal for the West for many years, and there's
yeah.
no such thing as a fair deal for the West. So unfortunately, we have to take the next steps to take care of ourselves. That's what they're doing.
Hmm.
Right? They're absolutely taking care of themselves. And we're supposed to be villainized by the fact that we're going to try to do that for ourselves, take care of ourselves. And we're the villains now
Yeah.
all of a sudden.
Oh
And
yeah.
they've been taking everything from Alberta for years. And we're supposed to say, okay, well, that's okay, even though we don't agree with their politics on any level.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're like sugar daddy and on top of it, they're telling us and they're governing us too on top of it, right? I mean, that's really the relationship. That's what it's like.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, thanks for answering that. I mean, number six is you've touched on that too, and what'll happen to Alberta if we choose to remain in Confederation, right? If we do nothing and just take it.
Well, I think
So,
that's going to be more of the same, and it's going to get
yeah.
worse. I think that you look at economies throughout the world. People say, "Oh, that can't happen here." Well, it's happening here already, and just
Hmm.
understand that countries like Venezuela were a very rich country at some point, and then
Yeah.
actually became very poor. And I mean, look at Iran. There's a war
Yeah.
there going on right now, and when the
Yeah.
Shah was there, they had it all going on.
Yeah.
They
That's
were,
right.
wealthy. They had a free democracy. The women were not
That's right.
dressed from
Yeah.
head to toe and with their eyes showing. And now all of a sudden, here we are. So,
Yeah.
so don't think that that can't happen here. Because it hasn't happened here, it doesn't mean
Hmm.
that it won't happen here. And because it hasn't happened here, people aren't as wary of it as they should be, and people are not paying as much attention as they should be. So where could Alberta go? Into a much darker place. I mean,
No,
fairly simple, and it's been going that way. It's consistently getting worse. And you know what? People are seeing it. There's a large
yeah.
portion of Albertans that understand what's going on now. That genie's not going back in the bottle. So I
Hmm.
think if we do the work and we make people aware of what's going on and make people very clear that they have a choice here to make themselves better off or not, and
Yeah.
if they don't want to take the risk, well then no risk, no reward.
And I'm glad you touched on that. Yeah, because some people are just they don't want to take the risk, and then they have this. I mean, I call it a loyalty complex, but it's kind of like it for what? There's no. I guess they just want to keep taking it. Like some people just even with some of the information presented to them, they just have this. Well, I'm staying regardless. It's okay. That's your vote. But that's one vote to me.
Yeah,
And
but they're
I find with
comfortable.
a lot of people, if you educate them, like the next part of the campaign, like you guys have said, is about education, right? Like it's about these are the main points or these are the reasons why we should do this. And like I like it that you guys have put in a lot of work, a lot of effort to show what the benefits, especially the financial ones, which will attract a huge amount of business here. Like it would be tremendous what would happen here. But those are that's my point of view anyway.
So I'll give you a little bit of a scoop here. This is what we're looking at financially. We're looking at for a single a single in a couple in a household with an income of $125,000 a year, a $9,800 a year tax reduction.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, yeah.
If the family with 165,000 income for both of them, $12,600 a year tax reduction. We're talking about 50% off of personal income tax, and it's affordable. And we've built
Okay,
it in.
yeah,
All right,
yeah.
so let's try to remember the last time the government gave you a tax break anywhere near that, or and didn't instead increase your taxes, which they're talking about doing. They're talking about taxing houses that are paid for now. So you can't pass any money on to your kids. So, I mean, at what point are people going to understand that the money does not have to leave here?
Yeah.
The money does not have to leave here. It's affordable. We can afford to pay our own way. We can afford to give you tax breaks. We're going to make it very clear to you that it's affordable. And
Mhm.
instead of this money going directly to government, it's going to do just the opposite. It's going to go to you. And if you don't think that $12,000 a year net is going to change your lifestyle, well, you're totally wrong because it's going to allow you to do a lot of things that you cannot do now. For a lot of people, that's going to pay their mortgage. It's going to be a big part of
Yeah.
it. So what I'm saying is that please understand that that's just going to be the first tax cut. That's not going to be
Yeah.
the only tax cut. It's going to be the first one. So then we're going to set up our nation. And how exciting is that going to be? How exciting is it going to be that we decide that, you know what, our education system needs work and we're not happy with the way our kids are being taught? How about thinking about the fact that, you know what, maybe glyphosate not that good for you
Hmm.
and that, we can make the same rules for all our farmers so that, what, our people would stay healthier based on the fact that there'd be less chemicals in the food. Like all of that
Yeah.
kind of stuff is doable and it would be up to the people. I'm not saying that I'm making a recommendation there,
Hmm. Yeah.
but
No.
how about the fact that, naturopathic medicine, which has been absolutely chased out of Canada and, everywhere,
Sure.
how about the fact that maybe some of that works? And maybe we could absolutely understand which part of that works with the no side effect part of it that comes along with it. Like
Hmm.
there's all that manner of stuff is very doable in a new country. So
Yeah.
we can make our rules. How about judges that are elected and not compromised, and
Yeah.
actually have, uh, you know, consequences for actions that are illegal? And how about a new set of rules so that politicians can't steal money? Like, I mean, all
A
this
hundred
stuff
percent.
is doable.
Of
It's
course it
it's
is.
all there. But that's the way it used to be.
Yeah.
It was that way where politicians were
Like,
scared to steal from the people. It's just not
well,
that way anymore.
and yeah, no, I'm 100%. Yeah, these things are definitely doable if we want it to be so. I look at it like it's like tying into the signature. Every signature represents the legal will of that person for the question, right? And to become independent. Like I, anything's possible. You have to think outside of the box. And it's like we can do this. To me, we can. And if enough of us want to do this and work together, it's very possible to accomplish like what's been started here 100%. But like, okay, so many people like this is number seven, but they ask me, where's the plan? You have no plan. Where's the plan?
There you
And
go.
then I refer them to the draft fiscal plan that's on APP's
Mhm.
website. And I just wanted to know who created the Value of Freedom document and highlight, some of the most important reasons why Alberta should become independent. Just the main points that you want to highlight in that you think people should know.
The value of freedom. So the value of
Yeah.
freedom is an APP document. Most of the work was done by a committee headed by a gentleman by the name of Dennis Kalma. Dennis did all the work that a lot of the work with that.
Hmm.
And he checked the stats, and he's the guy that provided the stats for me on the 50% income tax reduction. So
Okay.
I give him and his crew all the credit for that.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
we asked that the document be on the low side and not on the high side, be on the less optimistic side. As a
Okay.
matter of fact, there's a gentleman in the U.S. His last name is Armstrong. He's an economist. He said that the numbers are low. The premier from the province of Quebec also said the numbers are low. So the numbers say this: we will have a fiscal capacity surplus of 27 billion to 47 billion dollars a year.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we got another
Yes.
pipeline, that's going to increase by another 25 billion.
Wow.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So I'll also understand this. You got to wrap your head around this because it's hard for most Canadians to understand this. There's a monarchy in the Middle East. It's Saudi Arabia. They have the same population as Canada. They export three things. They export oil byproducts, and silica. We're exporting a laundry list of things, including all of those things they export. They're $260 billion in debt, which is a rounding error for them, and we're $2.1 trillion in debt here. Okay. So we're first in the world in many things, potash. We're top five in the world in gold. Lots of
Hmm.
forestry. If I could find my slide, there's a half a dozen things that we're top five in the world in, and we're broke. There's no way we should be broke. But here's the most important part of this conversation. They pay no income tax, period.
Yeah.
They pay no federal sales tax, period. So we have averaged 40% of income tax. They pay, and then we pay 13% of national sales tax. They pay none on either category. And imagine this, they get a check every month from the government on top of that. Everybody. And they have free
Wow.
healthcare, and they have free healthcare just like us. And they don't have half of what we have. And so you don't just have to think big. You don't have to wrap your head around it. You just go see around the world. There's places that have those things happening already. And that's a monarchy. That's not,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a
I
monarchy.
mean,
Yeah, they are
yeah.
keeping a lot of that money for themselves. So just imagine, where's our money going? Here's another stat. We produce 5 million barrels of oil a day, and Denmark produces what? 2 million barrels of oil a day. They have a one
I'm not
point,
sure.
it's Norway. It's not Denmark, it's Norway.
Norway.
They
Yeah, for sure.
they have a
Yeah.
$2 trillion US oil fund, and we're $100 billion in debt. And we produce twice as much oil as them. So where does the money go? So what
Good
I'm what I'm
question.
trying to say to you is that there's a lot of things here that are up in the air about what happens to the money, what kind of deals we got going on with these people that are producing that we're selling our oil to, and all manner of stuff that we could change and make better. And there's a demand for oil all around the world. But I
Yeah.
think the truest thing about the money, is when Mr. Trudeau turned down Germany and Japan to supply them natural gas and basically said, and this sums it all up, it's not in our business plan. So how can it not be in our business plan to supply natural gas to two of the richest nations in the world that pay their bills, that came here begging for it? How is that possible that we're not hopping
Hmm.
to absolutely make that happen? How is that
These are good
possible?
questions. Yeah.
So just understand. Oh, we're landlocked. Okay, that's the other thing. We're
Oh,
landlocked on
yeah.
four sides. Well, we're already landlocked on four sides. And we already have a 27 to $47 billion fiscal surplus. If we're negotiating our own path, somebody said, "Oh, they're going to build a railroad across the north." Well, that's if they want to do that. The simpler way would
Sure.
be we've been allowing free trade to go across Alberta from BC from day one. Nobody's ever said a word. How come
Mhm.
BC doesn't allow us to have free trade to the coast? How's that work? And we're supposed to be business partners. We're supposed to be in business together in a confederation,
Yeah.
a union that makes everybody better off. They're not making us better off. They're consciously making us poorer. So here's the thing. Alluded to the fact that another $25 billion for Albertans for a pipeline to go across BC and get more oil out. There's also a Keystone pipeline going south. you know what, which Americans may approve at this point. But does anybody understand what the differential is? There's a 20% differential in cost from world trade from world price. Alberta sells its oil to the U.S. It actually turns out that our oil, because it's a heavy oil, is way better to make diesel out of. So if that's the case, why are we giving them a 20% discount on our oil? So that oil goes into the pipe here in Coal Lake, which we produce 35% of Alberta's oil here, and it goes to Chicago, and then however long it takes to get from here to there, they make 20% on it. So just understand there's some of that kind of stuff that's going on that but
Yeah.
maybe needs to be questioned, and say, you know what? But even in spite of all that, we still show billions of dollars in profit from that. So just understand that there's lots of things that can be done, and just understand that based on what we know, if we increase the income of Albertans by what we're talking about here, that's going to also create a boom here. People
Of
will be
course.
spending that money, right? So
Yeah.
it's going to create more tax revenue, so more money for Albertans eventually, and more money for government. So we'll be able to improve all of our programs. So let's just take this a step further here on the
Sure.
rest of it. So if
Yeah.
we take half of personal income tax away, that's going to incentivize doctors to stay here,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I
Because
get that. Yeah, for sure.
they'll be paid higher than any place in Canada, which they already are. And then they're going to be also, on top of that, be paying the lowest tax rate of anybody in Canada. So doctors are
Yeah.
going to want to come here
Yeah.
because that's going to be a big deal based on what they're earning. So,
Of
so what I'm
course.
saying to you is it's going to make our healthcare system better. And we're going to have better educators because the same thing's going to happen to them. All of the best people, we're going to be able to keep our best people. We'll have the lowest tax rates in North America. And there will be advantages, and the Alberta advantage will be a real Alberta advantage. There'll be an advantage for professionals to stay here. And we're also talking about reducing corporate income tax. So we have the lowest corporate income tax in North America. And that's based into this plan that I'm going to share with everybody. And that's affordable. So we
It
won't get business leaving here. So you asked me what's the business case for us for Alberta?
yeah.
Well, there's a good part of it. How does that sound?
It sounds great. And I know I see the support like within like the business community too. Like there's a lot of people that are like, yes, let's do this, right? A little bit there's quite a few people that just don't want to be kind of necessarily seen, but like that's part of the reason why like I'll do what I do. I don't mind that at all. At least helping to support like what I think is really like this is worth investing in, like what you're doing for sure, and all
So
this
what I'm going to
stuff.
share, I'm also going to share with you that
Yeah.
these people that are afraid,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
should
There are
they
some.
there are lots. They're not
Yeah.
some. There's lots.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question. If I
Yeah.
was them, and I was, don't they see the problem with that? Don't you see the problem with that? You're afraid of your government. Don't you
Yeah.
understand how far down the path you've come if you're at the point where you're afraid of the Canadian government hurting you? And are you understanding the message that you're sending, to them, that you're going to allow them to intimidate you like that? And the other thing that you should be concerned about
It's a
is,
good point.
are you going to continue to allow it? Because it's a choice. I mean, yeah, I'm not saying that they're going to fight us really hard on this because there's so much for them to lose. But on the other side of the coin, we're to gain exactly what
There's
they're
so much to
losing.
gain. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you think that they have to fight us really hard so that they can keep it, maybe we should fight just as hard so we can have it for ourselves.
A
Because
hundred
it's us,
percent.
we're
Yeah.
doing the work, we're producing it,
Yeah.
it's in our
Yeah.
land. And I'm not saying, and let's talk about Aboriginal people.
Yeah.
They
Oh
don't
yeah.
have that good a deal right now. We can do
Yeah.
better for them. And we're
And that's what
protecting.
I've been saying, right?
It's in the
Yeah.
value of freedom.
Yeah. Yes, yes. See, like, because one person I remember came out like saying like it was a Forever Canada person, and just like I think they flipped the bird, and then they said, well, we support First Nations, and I'm like, well, so do we, right? I mean, like, what are you talking about? Like, who told you that we don't support First Nations? Of course, we support First Nations, and like you just said, it'd be a better deal. Like,
Well, it
it's
can be,
it
and the
can be,
whole
yes.
and the whole thing is the Indian Act hasn't been kind to Aboriginal people. So what I'm saying to you is, I'm going to admit the worst they can end up with is with what they have. We'd be
Yeah.
fine with leaving them on an independent nation. There's 48 nations in Alberta. They could keep their reservations as federal land. That doesn't have to be a problem. We've got national parks in Alberta that are federal land that, I mean, will possibly be negotiated to Alberta when this is done. But the whole thing is that they could stay here on federal land. The border that they're crossing into is going to be Canada. I don't understand what they're worried about crossing the border. They'll cross the border in Alberta for where they live into Canada,
Hmm.
which is where the treaty is. So, and that's not going to change. And as
Yeah.
far as the federal government can continue to pay them, they have a deal with them. I mean, that's the absolute worst that could be. And you know what? If they want that, if they want the status quo, I don't see a problem with it. I think their hunting, fishing, trapping rights are theirs, and we've grown up with that. Nobody's going to dispute the fact that we've lived with it already. Totally understand it, and they're basically, thinking that it's not going to change anything here.
Yeah, like I don't understand it because like no one's like no one's trying to take the land. Like it's because I understand there's Treaty 6, 7, and 8, and a treaty is an agreement. Like it's a contract, right? That's been settled. That's the way I understand it. Like even listening to Keith Wilson, I mean, he talks a lot about these things, and like it just doesn't make sense. Like you said too, I think Keith Wilson mentioned that the reserves, yeah, they're federally owned, but it's 1.3% of the geographic landmass of Alberta. That I'm getting that from Keith Wilson. I don't
Yeah, that's
personally know
correct.
myself. Okay. Yeah, and I mean it's when you actually like because I feel like what you guys are doing, you guys have thought of all these things. It's not like these things haven't been thought of and everyone bringing it up online. Well, what about this? What about this? Well, take a look at like these guys have thought about all these things. Like it's not like it's not nothing's being done in bad faith here to me. It's like I like the political theater that Nenshi kind of like just broadcasted all over the province. Like I just couldn't believe that, right? I was like, what is this all about, right?
Well, the funniest thing about Nenchi is
Yeah,
if you go back to his tweet after the federal NDP convention,
oh yeah,
and you go
yeah,
right down to the middle of it and see what he wants for Alberta and Albertans. I read it. I have it in my slide presentation.
okay,
And I basically said, Naheed, we're on the same side here if this is what you want. If this is really what you want. You're about pipelines. You're about Alberta expansion. You're about
yeah,
Alberta industry. You're about creating good jobs. If that's really true, then we're 100% in line with you. That's all we want. That's it, summarized in a nutshell. We don't want any more than that. We want responsible government, and we want all of those things that you're talking about. And all of those things that we're talking about is going to make Alberta a better place. And if you agree with that, well, then you know what? Uh, this should be a slam dunk.
and you know what? I'm glad you said that because that is something that yeah we can unite on. If that's like you just said, if that's really what he wants to do, okay, we can work with that, right? And it is about trying to work together, right? Like
Yeah,
I accept that. Yeah, sure.
I have friends and kids that are I have kids that are married to people that vote NDP,
Yeah,
and
sure.
you know what? They're great people, and you know what? In some cases, they're great moms, and
Sure.
they raise my grandchildren. So what I'm saying to you is,
Yeah,
but if you put it to
it's
them,
fair.
saying, do you think that it would be a good thing if we could actually give you $10,000 or $12,000 a year per income for him and her,
Hmm.
based on the fact that that money's going away from here and we never see it anyway, and it never comes back here.
Hmm.
All we're doing is not sending it to them and keeping it here for us. Would you vote for that? And
And
yes,
that's
it's
yeah.
unanimous they do, because the whole thing is we send $70 billion a year to Ottawa, of which we don't get 47 billion back. So out of that 47 billion, this program that I've talked to you is going to cost like 23, 24 billion to have the lowest tax rate in North America, corporately and
Yeah.
personally. So just understand that money is not ever been here. All we're doing is not sending it to them. We've never ever seen it. All that's
Hmm.
going to happen is it's going to create a boom here, and it's going to make you better off. And instead of keeping the money for government, we're going to give it to the people. That's the point. That's what we're doing.
And I think that it's great too. You're trying to unite us right under those points, and I think that that's right. I mean, that's the right way to do it. I mean, like it does benefit us all here, right?
Mhm.
And that's one of the big things for me is how can we unite and not just always divide, right? But like the financial benefits is one of the main things, right? Like for us that actually live here and work here, right? And you guys have done, again, I'm going to say a great job at highlighting all these things because that makes your life better, right?
So let's talk
So
about the New World Order now. Let's talk about the other part of it.
sure.
Who wants to have digital currency? Who wants to have facial ID? Who wants to be monitored everywhere they go?
Hmm.
Who wants to own nothing and be happy?
Good old
Who,
Klaus Schwab,
well,
eh?
well, well,
Yeah.
yeah, I know, but I mean
Yeah.
that's central to their what they're talking about.
It is, yeah.
And
Yeah,
Mr.
that's
and
what they
Mrs.
say.
Carney are
Yeah.
busy trying to get as much money as they can, and yet telling everybody that you're going to own nothing and you're going to be happy. And they're totally the opposite. They're totally trying to, pork barrel themselves into eternity with as much money as they can, as much money as they can wield. It's the most amazing thing going to me. So they don't
Yeah.
walk the talk. They absolutely do the very opposite.
Yeah.
Like Brookfield's involved in almost every major decision that the federal government's making right now. Are Canadians okay with that? Are Albertans okay with that? I'm certainly not okay with that. The lines are becoming less and less blurry here.
Mhm.
If that's what they want, the New World Order, well then we're lining up with the communist Chinese. 7 months ago they were our biggest enemy, according to Mr. Carney, and now we're signing memorandums of understanding and deals and trade deals with. Trade deals are fine as long as there's no strings attached, as long as they're not going to try to change who we are as a country, as long as
Mhm.
they're not going to come over here and try and take over our industry. So that's all fine. They can buy our products. They just can't come here and take over.
Yeah.
And their presence in Ottawa is out of proportion. And
Mhm.
they clearly have interfered in our election process. And they're clearly actually doing a whole bunch of things. And I'm sure it's not just them, because we are the richest nation in the world here, and everybody wants what we have. So we just have to understand that we have to be naive to think that people don't want that.
I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you're just bringing like the way that you understand it. It's so important, right, to get your voice like amplified, and I'm glad people are doing that because it just the way you put it, like it, because you're coming at it from the point. I'm going to say the point of view of compassion and care, right, for the actual people, which is nice for change, right, from a leader. Like you, I don't feel like you're doing this for any financial benefit for yourself. It's like you're doing this out of care and compassion like for really like as the people of old like to me like that's how I see you like that's why like I'm drawn to like your style of leadership right because I feel like the I call it the force power of why you do what you do is right it's not like the new world order it's not all about every decision you make is purely based on how much I can financially gain it's different right like with the liberal mindset but in the leadership anyway but let's go to okay. Let's go back to number 8 was it talks about the signature count being officially released. A lot of people are asking me how many signatures do we have?
Okay, so here's
Uh
how many we have is lots.
yeah,
We have way more than 177,000.
yeah.
Okay, so even if they get, somebody says there's a 20% margin of error, we have way more than that. And we'll announce it on May 4th.
Okay, great. Okay, so May 4th. Okay, so that's awesome. That's good to know because yeah, again, that's the political will, right, of the people, like the legal political will. That signature is really important. So go out and sign. Okay, cool. So like, okay, so I part of the question 8 there was how would a new constitution be ratified for all Albertans? I know we're not there
No, no.
yet, but
Oh, well, actually, we've actually written it. The
okay,
Constitution is actually done. It's a draft
okay,
paper. Of course, it's a discussion paper.
yeah,
The plan from our perspective is to have a constitutional conference 60 days after a successful referendum vote. And
okay,
then, so what will be involved there, from the way I see this, is that we're going to have, out of maybe 87 representatives from one from every constituency association in Alberta that will be selected by the people in that CA. And then plus maybe another dozen or 15 to round it off to 100 or 101 to make it an odd number of people that are experts, and we'll, one per one, break the province up into 12 regions and pick an expert, and then plus one per CA and have a conversation. Nobody from government, and have a conversation on what the new rules are going to be for the province of Alberta, whether that takes, a weekend or a week or a month, and then have a set of rules that everybody can live with, and then pass it from that group, then bring it to the people of Alberta. People of Alberta will vote on it once they understand it, have a clear, long education process for the people so that they understand what their representatives have done and what they've voted to, and then have the people of Alberta ratify a brand new set of rules based on that discussion.
Yeah,
And then that by itself is a legal way to independence. So
that's
even
awesome.
that by itself is a legal way to independence. Kosovo did that, had a constitutional conference with the people, and the United Nations looked on that as a legal way to change what's going on there, and they became independent based on the fact that they had a constitutional conference and it was ratified by the people.
That's amazing, man. That's awesome. Okay, great. Yeah, I'll definitely be talking about that. Okay, 'cause that leads into question number 9 is what are you urging Albertans to do before October 19th? Like what do you want people to do like once the petition's over here? What's step 2 here? Because step 1
Okay,
was
so this is I've made this very clear to my people that are working with me right now. We need to do 2 or 3 things. The first thing, it's 3 things for sure. The first thing we got to do is we have to understand that the UCP is not bound to doing any of this stuff in any way. So we have to join the United Conservative Party of Alberta if you're a freedom thinking person, if you're an independence thinking person, and be part of a large group that's going to represent independence thinking people that are inside the UCP party. And that will
okay.
compel the UCP to actually go down the path and go clearly down the path that they've said that they were going to go down. And we can be a large silent group there that's going to allow us to actually vote in nomination processes moving forward so that we can actually elect members, MLAs that think like us. And basically, it's going to compel us to join provincial party boards and participate in our democracy because we can never not do that anymore. So that's the first most important thing that we have to do is we have to hold the UCP accountable, and we
Okay.
have to be sure that the UCP is going to follow through with allowing the vote if the judge dismisses the vote and says, you know what, this is an illegal process. The premier can call a referendum independence vote on her own. The next part is to make sure that the question is clear. Our question is clear. It's a
Yeah.
standalone question. It's a constitutional question. So we would hope and expect for our question to be the question, standalone, yes or no question on that. And the third thing that we have to be very, very sure of is that after that, first of all, we want them to call the vote. That's important. Have a legal fair vote. That's the next step. And the third thing is that once we win the vote, if we win the vote, then the Premier has to declare Alberta independent of Canada and then trigger the Clarity Act so that we can get into a discussion based on what the next relationship or the exit rules are going to be for Canada. The second part of that is we have to organize. We have to do fundraisers so that we can collect money, for Stay Free for Alberta Prosperity Society. And you know what? We're going to form a third party advertiser. We're going to have a third party advertiser here, basically, probably with Stay Free Alberta. And we have
Okay.
to actually get the money so that we can make those things functional, so that we can use those tools, which is what they've given us, to get the message out to the Albertans that we don't talk to directly, and so that
Hmm.
we can get the message to them, in that way. And the other thing that you have to do as far as I'm personally concerned, is get people to put their name in and increase our membership from 250,000 to as big as we can get it.
Yeah.
By joining the Alberta Prosperity Project. And that does a
Yeah.
couple, three things. That allows you to stay in touch with us. That allows us to put you to work if we need to. And that also allows you to hear conversation from us and communication from us based on what's actually happening out there from our point of view.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. I mean, you know what you're doing. So that's the thing. That's what I really see with you guys is that okay, awesome. Okay, so number 10. How can we become involved and support Stay Free Alberta's cause? I mean, you basically just answered that question, but
Yes,
yeah, I mean
ditto that.
yeah. Okay. And the last one is 11 is the white paper. I heard Keith Wilson and Jeffrey Rath speak about they're always referencing the white paper. What is the white paper and what should we know about that?
So the white paper is a plan for day one. So
Okay.
white paper is a plan, and it's going to also tell people, all of the hard to answer questions that you referred to the plan,
Yeah.
halfway through this conversation. This is the plan.
Okay.
This
That'll be and that's going to be released, like officially released. That's kind
that's going to be officially released, I believe, sometime in mid to late May.
of okay. Perfect. Okay, no, that's great. Okay, so I just want to reiterate. Okay, so one thing I wanted to mention before we go here is um, okay, I'll leave the links to albertaprosperityproject.com, stayfreealberta.com. You are the CEO of both. And of course, let's mention Sylvestre Sporting Goods, out
Yeah.
in Bonnyville too, right? So if you're up there, like, support this man and what he does, man. Like, next time I'm up there, man, I'm stopping by. But yeah,
Okay,
like,
good.
because I know they had that. Not that I want to bring up like the bullet guy. I saw that bullet guy. I had a guy actually do the gun thing to me, like with his hand when he's driving by. I just waved. Like I'm not afraid. I'm not a person that's afraid, right? I do not have fear. Like I mean, it's not that I'm just not afraid. Like when I believe in something, I just let's take the hill, right? But anyway, yeah, let's stop that kind of stuff. And I know I heard something online that they made a case that it was some kind of a pen or was it something like that? Or I think
Well,
it was a real
according
bullet. But
my girls swear to it in court that it was a real bullet. But you know what?
yeah, I think it was too, for
It
sure.
uh,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
yeah.
The intent of it was the same. Uh,
Yes,
so as
yes,
as far as we're personally concerned,
yeah.
they're pretending that that we caught the people, that we caught them because
Good.
yeah. Oh
Yeah,
no, our security system showed very clearly who he was.
I saw that. Yeah, no, good, good.
We
Yeah,
put it out on Facebook, and I had 50 phone calls within an hour.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
people
yeah.
out, and he's from Lloydminster.
Okay.
The whole thing is this: what the hell would I need a bullet-shaped pen for?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Like
I
really?
mean, yeah, come on. Yeah.
Like
I
yeah,
mean,
come
that's
on.
not cool, man. Like, we're not
I
doing that kind of shit. Yeah, like
I
that's
have
just
all
not cool.
kinds of ammunition in the store, real
Yeah,
ammunition.
I know. Yeah,
And,
like,
and, and so what I'm saying to you is, what purpose
yeah,
is a bullet-shaped pen? It's not funny.
yeah.
He's never met me.
No, that wasn't cool.
I would have known him. I would have known him if he walked in here tomorrow.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
no,
have any idea who he was, and I don't care.
yeah.
I just think that
No, no, that's
it's
not cool. Yeah,
absolutely ignorant. Scared the
yeah.
hell out of my staff, which is my biggest
Of course
concern.
it would. Yeah, yeah,
And you know what? Those girls deal with 100 to 200 people a day at the till, and
yeah.
they've never ever been
It's
afraid. They're
yeah.
both terrified of this guy.
Yeah, no, I can see that. That was incredibly stupid on his part, in my view, because just walking in there, what I mean, I guess maybe he didn't care, right? Don't you think he's got camera? Of course he's got cameras, right? So I don't know, I
Yeah,
don't get it. But anyway, okay,
and
well,
I have
thanks for
pens too.
yeah, there you go. You have pens. Yeah, so like, thanks, Mitch Sylvestre. This is Mitch Sylvestre. To me, you are the man. Like, you're the leader of this movement, and let's support him. And thank you for your time. I really appreciate the time. I know you're really busy, and I see you as a godsend, and I'm very thankful that you're bringing like a voice of conscience, like into the House of Lies.
Well,
So
thank you very
it's
much.
it's
I'm
yeah,
one of many leaders, but I appreciate your confidence in me. Thank you very much.
yeah, for sure, right? No, thanks, Mitch. Thanks for your time, and we'll sign off. Yeah,
Okay, take
thanks a
care.
lot, Mitch. Yeah, take care.